Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. Joe Donahue joins me on the mic this evening. Trey Shuttlesworth behind the scenes. Corey Rexford is on social media coverage. My name is Noah Carmichael, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing series. Thank you for tuning in across our multiple platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We join you tonight from the virtual Watkins Glen, New York for the 11th round of the Bluegrass iRacing series season. Tonight, these drivers look to go road course racing for the first time this season, as we are now only 2 races away from deciding our playoff grid. Joe, as a driver as a person who has actually been to the track in person and witnessed racing up these hills and around these curves, what do you say you can expect to see out of these drivers here tonight as they get ready to contest for 44 laps around the Watkins Glen International?
Well, I gotta say it, this is absolutely my favorite racetrack on the planet. I love going to Watkins Glen. My dad and I go a lot. We didn't go last year, obviously, but we pretty much made it a yearly adventure to go up there at least once and see a race, and I just love the rolling hills. I love the history that lays within the surface. I love the accessibility of going around the track as a spectator, and I think it draws a lot of attention from people all around the country, all of the NASCAR fans alike. I think this track was rated, in terms of the Real World NASCAR Cup Series, as the favorite for the last 2 years or 3 years or something like that. So obviously these guys come out, the Bluegrass iRacing series, to this track, and there's so much history with Watkins Glen itself, and then throw the NASCARs on it, and there's a lot to it there. But in terms of racing, I've always thought this track's very flow-inducive. I think the guys who can get into a flow, maybe more than a rhythm, and just kind of roll with what they have and what they're given on track, I think that's what gets you to the front, and just being persistent and not giving up on your car and hit your marks. I think hitting your marks is also crucial here, but yeah, all of those sorts of things, just trying to get some flow and roll with the hills and all that kind of stuff working together should be what puts the winner's circle tonight.
Absolutely. This track, very historic in terms of the in terms of the history of this venue, with it having run NASCAR for a lot of years. When it first started, I believe it was actually a street course race within the town of Watkins Glen. Then the track was built after that. And then it became a home for the United States Grand Prix for Formula One for a while, up until around the mid-70s. It was known kind of as the party race for a lot of fans worldwide. So for a very long time, this track has been a very popular venue in all its platforms in motorsports, from NASCAR to IndyCar to the World Endurance of IMSA and even F1. So this track has a lot of history linked in it. And it's going to be very interesting to see these drivers take on this. It says on the screen 11 turn, but I believe that is with the boot added that's not shown on the screen. I believe it's actually a 7-turn road course that we're going to be getting to witness here tonight for the Bluegrass iRacing series, along with an added challenge. This track was scanned before the repave that takes place around 2016, so the bumps still exist here, adding a whole new layer of difficulty for these drivers to have to overcome, especially going up the S's of turns 2, 3, and 4. Very fast-paced corner that is very much a rhythm section. If anything, the most rhythm section besides Sonoma here on the NASCAR schedule. And it's going to add a lot more variations to have to deal with, trying to brake hard while also trying to keep in mind these bumps to not overshoot these corners.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Noah said, this track's pretty bumpy, and there's a lot of parts of the track where that's really crucial. I look at the bus stop when I think about that. The bus stop is one of those places you got to woe down really carefully, and going through it especially, it gets very bumpy in the middle of the bus stop. You come out onto the carousel. I think the carousel is a tough spot to hold your car down to the bottom side and hit your apex correctly there. But even into the 90, which is what they call that first corner up there, down past what used to be the start-finish line, it used to be in between what we now have as turns 1 and 2, up the S's. The S's, if you get out of rhythm, you're done in, I think. The S's are very crucial at the very end to have gotten through safely, get through turn 2 very well, and then you'll have a solid time through turns 3 and 4 as well. But in terms of the entirety of the track, you can see it's very simple, but like Noah said, it looks simple from the top, but when you're on it, it's not quite the same story.
Absolutely not. And also, just one of the treacherous parts of the track is in fact the S's, because of the lack of room you have to make a mistake. As you can see there on the left hand side of your screen, you can see the Armco barriers going up the S's, and what we see a lot right after that, where it comes over to where the tunnel is to cross into the racetrack between turns 3 and 4, and a lot of the times we see wrecks take place up there. Because of how tight that area is, it ends up becoming a parking lot that involves so many drivers. There are so many videos you can find online of just how much of a wreck you can witness through that section of the racetrack. He also mentioned the bus stop, a very famous corner, not only within Watkins Glen, not only within NASCAR, but racing as a whole. The bus stop and the carousel, just two very famous corners within the racing world, and it just adds to the history of this track and the uniqueness of it, because you're going through off the fastest section of the straight coming up out of the exit of the 4 with the run up to the bus stop. You have to back it down all the way to make it through there, and then you're going to the carousel, which is such a frustrating corner because you feel you can get the power down early, but you can't. It's just such a long, grueling corner that you have to wait for your right time to get the run off to that final straight to get the run up to turn 6 and 7. So there's going to be a lot of varying factors that take place, and it's going to be a very, very challenging night for these drivers who have yet to run a road course this season.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Noah. As we pull up the point standings, this is going to be a very interesting setup to have these guys coming out to their first road course in a while with the series. But you look at the point standings and you think about who's going to be able to pull off a victory here tonight. Obviously, we've got all those 6 guys in blue that have won here in this series, but I think Watkins Glen gives the rest of the guys further down in the order a really great shot to be a one-off winner at an event. You look down further past maybe John Kinder, because obviously John Kinder's been very strong throughout the last couple of races. I think that we could very well see the 21 mark in victory lane here. But you look further down, Ryan, Kendall, White, Brackett, Jack Bauer, those guys round out the top 10. But even further back, if somebody like Nick Mills, Joshua Abbey, Daniel Worthington, those guys at the lower stages of the playoffs cutoff or even further below it, Gary Jaworski, CJ Mason, David Brackett, this is the type of track where you can get an upset from somebody who just put in a little bit more time and a lot more practice into getting the rhythm down. And this kind of facility and this kind of race is really awesome to see at the end of the season, because we've raced this whole way up these last 10 races to get this playoff picture set up. And we've got obviously tonight and then next week at Darlington to set the actual 16 driver field for the playoffs. But looking down further in the order, this is the type of track where people who are further down in that area can finally break through, get that straight shot into the playoffs and get a victory.
Absolutely. You look at the drivers up there, like Sue Sevens on 10th of John Kinder, Ryan Kendall, Wyatt Brackett, and Jack Bauer. All four of those guys last week in New Hampshire had an incredible run throughout the entirety of the race and were within positions to get a very good finish or even a win. John Kinder having dominated the entirety of that race before getting taken out in a late race incident and then being able to rebound due to some last lap crashes to get home in, I believe, a top 10 finish even. So still without the win, but he is so far up in the standings that he's almost guaranteed to be in with a win or not. Obviously, he still wants to get that win, and he's right now the heavy favorite to do so. Currently on pole here right now as qualifying rolls on with a 13.6, 0.2 faster than the second place of Wyatt Brackett. So two drivers still without a win, still very much within contention of getting that win, but regardless, they're going to be locked in on points to make the playoffs. So again, it's a lot of drivers that are going to be within a position to possibly get a win here tonight, but still there's a lot to be decided, as you see all the way back there from 14th to 18th, separated by almost about 30 to 40 points, which can be made up within these last two races. And notably, Bryce Hunter in the number 9, currently 14th in the standings. He's currently going to start third tonight for tonight's event, as we believe qualifying is just about going to be wrapping up here, as right now the drivers meeting is taking place. So it's going to be a very, very interesting night, and who knows, after this week, that points could be very, very different heading into the last race of the regular season.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. These points could be very well shaken up. I mean, you look down further, 15th, 16th, 17th, the gap between Ronnie Strick Jr. and Gary Jaworski right now is a 12-point gap. So it's not as close as maybe it had been earlier in the season, and it's certainly not as close as, say, Bryce Hunter and Nick Noggle in 14th and 15th. But I think certainly a good day for Jaworski and a bad day for sure could flip those positions just instantaneously, and including stage points. You know, you're very well within striking range, even to be in 18th, 19th right now. David Brackett could put together a good race. We are waiting on qualifying to wrap up here. We've got all but 3 of the drivers right now have put in qualifying lap times. Your top 5 completely together. Like Noah said, John Kinder's at the top of the standings for the moment. Wyatt Brackett sits in second place, just about 0.2 of a second slower than you have Bryce Hunter in third, Brandon Robertson fourth, Casey Barlow fifth. So for the most part, we've seen those guys up at the front of the field for a couple races, and consistently they've been up at the front. Obviously, John Kinder leading the point standings, and then those guys like Brandon Robertson, Casey Barlow with wins this season. Wyatt Brackett's been doing an excellent job of just being consistent. Obviously hasn't broken through enough, but I like to see the consistency out of Wyatt Brackett, and especially to see Bryce Hunter running really well. If you go back to Road America, which was actually the first race of the season with these guys on the road courses, he did have a very good performance together. I think it fell apart a little bit for him at the end of the race, but it's a long race and you have to be on it the whole way through. I think that was some really great practice for Bryce, and obviously he's shown that he brought some speed out to Watkins Glen today.
Yeah, one of the great things that comes with being able to run at these road courses is it gives, like you said, a shot to a lot of drivers who have not really been able to show their true pace. So drivers like Bryce Hunter maybe could be what we call a road course stringer, and that could pay in dividends to really help him later on. Because even though this is our first road course race, it is not our last. We have to go to the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway later in the season into the playoffs. So that'll make it very, very interesting to see what really we can see, because it can really much decide who's going to be the favorites, who has the best shot of capitalizing to win the Roval, to put themselves in position to win this championship. As now qualifying is about to wrap up and we're getting ready to set the grid, let's take a quick look through our starting grid for tonight's action from the Watkins Glen International. Starting out on pole here tonight, driver of the number 21 is going to be John Kinder. Lining up alongside him on the outside will be the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett. Starting back in row number 2 in P3, the number 9 of Bryce Hunter, one of his best starting positions of the season, with Brandon Robertson lining up 4th. Casey Barlow in number 51, your winner from Richmond, he lines up in P number 5, with Justin Winters in number 52 lining up P6. Chris LeBourgeois in number 83 going to line up in the 7th position, with Nathan Maurer in the 97 lined up 8th. And then rounding out your top 10, and number 15 is going to be Matt Grenier with the number 08 of Nicholas Noggle starting P10.
You look back to row number 6, you got the 14 of Tyler Reed on the inside of Adam Lancaster, looking to go for another race victory. Ed Osborne, who's starting 13th spot, his outside is going to be David Brackett in the 38 machine. Go one row back, and 15th starting spot, the number 7 of Ronnie Shirk Jr., and his outside is going to be that 68 machine of Ryan Kendall. In the 17th starting position, it's going to be the 46 car of Nick Mills, and alongside of him in the number 18 is going to be Gary Jazorski. You throw it back to 19th and 20th in row number 10. You've got Michael Brisson on the inside and CJ Mason on the outside. And then your final row on the field tonight is going to be 2 cars who did not set times in qualifying, but they're still going to be charging towards the front. The number 48 of Jack Bauer and the number 13 of Brian Perry Noah.
And that is going to cover our 22 drivers to start tonight here at Watkins Glen. 44 laps, or 45 laps is going to be the advertised distance here, with a stage break at the halfway point as the field now making their way through the S's, preparing to double up as they approach the bus stop, as you have a very, very wide angle of the aerial shot here in Watkins Glen as they come down to a little bit of a forest section with the lead up into the bus stop. This is going to be the toughest part of the racetrack to try and make your way through, because this is really, without a doubt, probably the most chaotic place of the racetrack, and going to be one of the most important places on this first lap besides turn number 1. Anywhere you look around here is going to be very, very challenging and very, very exciting to see how these drivers tangle, and I'm very, very excited to see how these drivers are going to tackle this entire facility for 45 laps.
Yeah, I absolutely love this racetrack. I love coming here for races, obviously, but I love that NASCARs run really well here. I think that stock cars are a pretty good fit for at least the setup without the boot here at Watkins Glen. And these guys are going to be struggling with these cars, don't get me wrong, tonight. It's a tough battle all evening long to get one of these big, heavy stock cars through this road course without any trouble, but maybe it'll get us some exciting racing. Who knows? It'll be a good show, that's for sure.
A good show indeed, as now the field coming through turn number 7. That Porsche safety car getting ready to make the left turn onto the safety of pit lane. Hand the field over to John Kinder, making their way under the sprint bridge, and the green flag is out. Kinder gonna stomp on that lap pedal, and we are racing at Watkins Glen. As Kinder gets the jump, he's gonna clear out Wyatt Brackett as they make the run down into turn number 1. It looks so far so good. No incidents to report, as now they make the run up to the S's, as Kinder is going to lead him through.
John Kinder leads us up the S's for the first time. It looks like the field's mostly good to go through the back. No issues with the guys still running up here. Up at the front of the grid, though, you're looking at Wyatt Brackett on board with him as he's trying to chase back up to John Kinder on this first lap. Don't want to let him get too far ahead of you here at the start of the race, but if there's a small gap in between you, it just gives you some breathing room to start trekking through these first few laps. Nick Mills has some issues in the bus stop. That 46 machine going to go straight through and lose all that track time and all that track position. Tough start to the race, but if you're going to make a mistake, it may as well make it early and be able to work your way back up through the field as time goes on.
Making their way now through turn number 6, now to the last chicane up to the run up to 7. Looks like John Kinder will, in fact, lead this lap. Wyatt Brackett still running strongly in second. Bryce Hunter holding on third. He has a little bit of wheel spin coming down the main straight, with Brandon Robertson in fourth. And Casey Barlow still holding on strongly to fifth, as Kinder has been waiting so long for a chance to get that win. He's had it time after time after time and had it ripped out. It's now just been a very, very big question of when will John Kinder get the win sticker on that number 21 Rims 1 Ford Mustang. Now making the run back up through turns 3 and 4 as he gets ready for the setup to the bus stop. And the big question is going to be, can he be able to hold on for the rest of the race and be able to win this race, or will somebody be able to capitalize and seal another win for the number 21?
Yeah, you mentioned steal wins. John Kinder's definitely had some wins taken from him that he probably deserved. He's run really good the last few weeks, and things just haven't gone his way. So this is the type of track where you can shine in something like that, where you've had incidents happen that maybe were out of your control, and the guys who race with you obviously keep up with you pretty well. But this is the type of track that John could just blow the field away and roll away with the victory, so long as he doesn't put a foot wrong, which is tough to do on its own as they come through these last two corners. Again, we had seen the last time through, Nicholas Noggle way more at the back of the field, had actually gone way wide on that left-hander. He got the car under control and no damage done to it. But certainly they got to try to woe these cars down and keep their tires under them as they continue to run through this race. And John Kinder goes fastest. He goes purple at the top of the screen.
The new fastest lap being set early there for the number 21 of John Kinder. Now looking back at the fight for third, as Brandon Robertson, your current overall points leader here in the regular season, trying to chase down that number 9 of Bryce Hunter as they make the exit down the longest straightaway. This is the fast section of the racetrack, getting ready for the setup for the bus stop, as now Bryce Hunter actually starting to close the gap to the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett. Now down to the heavy braking zone, down to second. You're going to slam each and every one of these curves to try and get as much grip for that corner exit. And then, like we talked about in the pre-race, the long, grueling carousel. And you see Brackett actually going to try and take a little bit of a wider approach and do a late arc to get the runoff. It will work, but you can see now behind Brandon Robertson is starting to close that gap little by little, and the yellow number 2 Chevrolet Camaro is starting to get bigger in the mirror of the number 9.
Still closing in on him, and I think it is worth mentioning that Brandon Robertson's one of the more experienced road course drivers, at least on the server system of iRacing. There are rating systems in iRacing that you can track the performance and history of drivers who are taking official iRacing events, and Brandon Robertson has one of the highest in the field coming into this event, so that might shine through tonight. And Brandon is always one to watch here in the Bluegrass iRacing series, nonetheless, it being that he has such a high rating on road courses. If the ratings were based off of your performance in these first few laps of this race tonight, though, I think John Kinder would very easily have the highest rating in the field. You can see the gap between him and Wyatt Brackett is just still building in between them, and I think Wyatt Brackett's hopefully keeping it a little easy right now, trying to get through the first couple laps without making any mistakes and just get the car set and everything warmed up. But John Kinder absolutely gapping these guys, and they're not quite to the point where they're going side by side and taking time off of each other. But once Bryce Hunter or Brandon Robertson start getting a little aggressive, I think those guys are just going to keep falling back, and John Kinder's just going to get more and more time into them.
Yeah, most like we expect here with races like these, you have a long run to that halfway point. So what drivers will start to do is just kind of fall into line and get themselves within a rhythm. Don't push the car that much because you can't win it on lap number 4, but you can easily lose the race on lap number 4. So what these drivers are going to start to do is what we always talk about. Just get into that rhythm, because this is, if anything, a rhythm racetrack. You just get into the line of how you hit your marks, you hit these corners, and then you make the runs up to the S's to hold on to your machine, to keep it off the wall and to keep it on the racetrack. As you look there for a second, the last week's winner, Adam Lancaster, running currently back in the top 10 and 8 as they make the run up again to the S's. It looks like Bryce Hunter might have a shot to overtake the number 33 this time by.
Hunter with the run down the back stretch. He's within striking distance, I'd say. Kind of thought better of it there going into the bus stop. Probably a smart move there for Bryce Hunter. You can't win the race on lap 5, but you can lose it. So smart move and long-term thinking there. Wyatt Brackett retains second place as they come through the carousel once again. Hunter and Robertson still holding on plenty good. I think that's worth watching as we continue forward, if they're going to maybe have a chance at running to each other down and making some passes. If we want to look at passes, I will go ahead and bring us in to mention that Jack Bauer has made up 7 positions already. So that number 48 machine that started at the tail end of the field coming on strong. He's got a couple positions gifted to him, obviously, like Nick Mills had his issue in the first lap. But elsewise, Jack Bauer is on a charge to try to get that machine up to the front, and I think that sums up his season pretty well. Jack Bauer's been doing this all season long, trying to get up there, get wins, which he hasn't quite gotten through to doing, but he did have a strong performance at North Wilkesboro, and I think if he keeps the momentum he's got right now, we could see that 48 car in the top 5 by the end of the race.
Absolutely, it just seems to be the way that Jack Bauer's season has gone. He will start poorly, and then, or even just start very high up, and he's just able to run up within the top 10. And here's the interesting thing about it: everybody else always putting these practice laps to get to the setup. Jack Bauer has not, so he is blindly racing the setup unless he tested privately within the weeks leading up to this event. But regardless, having no practice in this session for the warm up for this race and be able to run this well early in the goings and be able to chase down the number 08 of Nicholas Noggle is just very impressive to see. Also, want to give a shout out to Nicholas Noggle because here's something that I did not know about Nicholas Noggle. He is a late model racer. He was actually out at New Smyrna this past weekend, taking place in some of the festivities involving there, and actually I believe won an event this past weekend, so congratulations to him. Currently, he sets himself up in the 13th position. A very strong run in the early goings, but man, it's really interesting to see some now real-life racers taking place in here, and it really kind of explains why he's been able to be so fast on these short tracks.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Obviously, if he runs short tracks in the real world, he'd have some experience to pull down into iRacing with him. We got a battle on the racetrack right now. Chris LeBourgeois just making it side by side with Ed Osborne down the front stretch, takes over the final spot inside the top 10. That 42 machine has been going pretty strong throughout the season, pretty consistent, I would say, is a good way to put it. He's had some pretty high level performances and whatnot throughout the season. Chris LeBourgeois actually kind of getting out of the way. I wouldn't say off the pace, but definitely got out of the way of these other guys here and let them just take off on their own for that moment. So that is an interesting strategy or whatever is going on with that number 83 machine that he, for the most part, just got out of the way of those two, and they continue forward. Noggle and Bauer both retain those positions. You see, yeah, I don't think he's got that much lost speed, at least, because he can keep up pretty well in the bus stop, but through the carousel, I mean, you can just see they've put enough of a gap between them, and LeBourgeois not giving them too much pressure.
Well, while that has happened, we have had an issue up towards the front. Bryce Hunter has gone off at turn number 6, and he will lose his third place position. He is currently fallen back to P number 5 behind Casey Barlow. To get the replay up, he was struggling quite a bit. He went into the bus stop and he cut the first part of the bus stop and had to really get on the momentum to try and outrun Brandon Robertson, who's right on his tail. And you're going to see he's going to come down into turn number 6, and I believe there's going to be a little bit of a wheel hop. Yeah, he's a little bit of a brake issue, and he just goes wide and slides it. He's able to keep it off of the sand, which allows him to maintain the momentum. He does not lose that many spots, but still not the start of the race that you want early in the goings, but he's lucky to be able to come out of that without a scratch.
Well, I'll give him credit because he actually slid that car pretty nicely. Watkins Glen is within the Finger Lakes region, getting kind of up into the upstate New York area where there are some dirt tracks, and then obviously you're more on the East Coast where there are a couple dirt tracks within somewhat close range. So getting a little bit down and dirty on the outside of turn 6, which you don't want to do here, but at least he retained control of the car and kept it on the track, and he's staying in the top 5. That shows Bryce actually does have some skill behind that wheel to push that car and control that car, and maybe that's showing us that he can do that later in the run when the tires start wearing out too.
Now coming down into turn 1 again, you're now looking at number 97 of Nathan Maurer, another driver who has been very, very competitive. He's currently, I believe, on the outside looking in to try and make it here into the playoffs, but still having a very, very strong run. He's a guy who, while not really having the results to call himself a championship contender, he is a driver who is very, very capable of being able to make the playoffs and then becoming a contender possibly for the championship. He's still running strongly there in the 6th position, trying to chase down Bryce Hunter there for the 5th spot, but also trying to fend off Matt Grenier as they make their way now to the carousel. As you take an on-board look with the number 97 Simbox Chevrolet Camaro, now on the exit of 5, ready to get the run up to turns 6 and 7, as he is currently getting to complete lap number 9 here at Watkins Glen.
Coming around again, you're looking on your screen at Ed Osborne just sitting at the outside, or just sitting in 10th position. Ryan Kendall sitting in 11th, just outside that top 10. He's made up 5 spots so far in this race in 10 laps. Ryan Kendall is one of those guys at the top end of the playoff picture that haven't won a race yet, which has been really cool to see Ryan just kind of slowly get his feet under him with this series. Obviously, the start of the season wasn't as great as the last couple have been for Ryan, but he was a factor in the race last week the whole way up through the end of it. It looked like he got in a little sideways into the 90 there, but I think he definitely got control of that car again and kept moving forward with it. You're on board with Jack Bauer in 13th, another one of those guys who's made a lot of moves in this event. He has himself into 13th, starting 21st with the 8 positions made up, so he made up that extra spot over Chris LeBourgeois we had seen a little while back on the stream. Still trying to chase down Nick Noggle, and that 08 car in front of him has a small gap going into the bus stop here, but I wouldn't count him out just yet, and I think as it goes on, maybe we'll see if the tire game is going to make any difference for Jack and be able to get a couple more spots.
Yeah, when you talk about Nicholas Noggle and Jack Bauer, another thing to keep in mind there is on that screen you're looking probably arguably the 2 most aggressive drivers within the Bluegrass iRacing series. Those 2, if you give them a hole to go and make a pass, they will capitalize and try and make that pass. You saw right there, Noggle was thinking about it, trying to make the move there at turn number 6, thought better of it, and he falls back in line. Still having to fight off the number 40 of Jack Bauer, who is again also trying to capitalize on a mistake as they make the run up now down into turn number 1 to complete lap number 10. As you see, the field now is just spread out more and more and more. Right now, what you're looking at is probably the closest fight on the racetrack. As here he goes, Nicholas Noggle. Like I said, you give him the hole, he's going to go for it, and he did go for it, but it's going to cost him. As now he will get passed by Jack Bauer, and it might get passed by Chris LeBourgeois, who thinks better of it, and that's going to cause a big check up there for Tyler Reed in the 14, who has to try and avoid number 83. So big accordion effect going on there as drivers trying to avoid number 08 of Noggle, who tried making that pass but ends up losing a spot out of it as he now makes his run up to the bus stop as well.
Yeah, I kind of thought LeBourgeois could have maybe got through there. I think he thought better of it, obviously, and backed out of it a bit, but maybe I feel like he could have probably got that pass done before he got into that first part of the S's and still been able to retain control of it up the hill. I think these cars are kind of a handful in the S's right now. For these guys, that might be showing through what Chris LeBourgeois did there to back out of it instead of getting a little aggressive and passing Noggle back. And obviously it did hurt him a little bit in the running order for the time being, but an incident would take you out of contention a lot quicker than losing one, 2 spots here. So Tyler Reed got that spot over Chris LeBourgeois as the first cars come down pit road for race Noah.
Wyatt Brackett and Bryce Hunter, your first takers to bring it to the attention of their crew. Positions 2 and 3 on the pit stalls. John Kinder, Brandon Robertson, Casey Barlow, Nathan Maurer, all staying out as Wyatt Brackett now down on the way. Same for Bryce Hunter. So they'll both have clean pit stops. Matt Grenier overshoots his stall. Looks like by quite a bit as he's still backing up trying to get in there. He will now get jacked up. Same for is that Nicholas Noggle again off track, and this time with a little bit of damage as well, as it looks like he went straight into the Armco barrier at the end of turn number 1. We're going to see what happened there.
Noggle comes down the front stretch, and those rear tires just locked up a bit more than they needed to for him to get into that corner. He might have braked a little too late there. He was coming in way too hot in turn number 1. On board with him here, and yeah, I mean, it's just car revs up, and you can see how easily the rear end goes underneath Noggle and slides all the way out. And the runoff in turn 1 is paved as a way to get the tires to grip a little better than maybe say sand or grass, and give these cars a chance to take some of the speed off of them. But obviously wasn't quite enough for Nick Noggle to avoid making contact with the wall there. As Casey Barlow brings that one into pit lane, so does Nathan Maurer behind him, and a couple more maybe following suit.
Adam Lancaster as well, going to bring it in. Last week's winner from Loudon. He is currently safely to make it in there. Now Tyler Reed in that black 14 Ford Mustang going to make the long drive down, as well as Ryan Kendall. So a lot what we would have expected here at Watkins Glen. Going to split the stage in half and pit around the lap 11 to 13 mark as more and more drivers. Nick Noggle obviously now bring it in to service and get some work done on the number 08 after the amount of damage he took nosing it into the barrier. And now all eyes are really going to be on John Kender to see when he opts to come down pit road. As you look at him coming out of the final corner, he still stays out on the racetrack. He is actually approaching the number 46 of Nick Mills, who was not too far ahead of him in number 46 Mills Insurance Chevrolet, as he runs wide on the exit of turn number 1, and Kinder might be pitting here soon or later to try and avoid having to go through the lap traffic, because that is the last thing you want to do this late into a run. You saw 3 cars there on your screen, as now you look back onto the fight of a 3-way fight for the 10th spot between Wyatt Brackett, Bryce Hunter, and Casey Barlow.
So these are the lead cars of the group that pit, like Noah said. They're battling in and amongst each other for position right now, but these could possibly be the guys to take over the race lead when John Kinder comes down the pit lane. You're looking at Ed Osborne down pit road here in the 42, Ronnie Shirk Jr. following as well. John is surprising me that he stayed out this long. Obviously, those guys who pit already are going to get what we call an undercut on him, where you come into the pits, get fresh tires, and get your car reset to do another run. And when you come back out of the pits, you have the opportunity to go a bit faster on the racetrack, and it catches you up in time to the guys you may have been behind on the racetrack before you came into the pits. And as I say that, I want to throw it to John Kinder, who is going to come down pit road, but he almost missed his pit in entrance, almost missed the corner turn 7 completely, actually, almost went into the wall there.
Yeah, I believe he was avoiding the number 38 of David Brackett, who was all the way down on the grass. I'm going to try and see. Oh, yeah, just the same mistake that Bryce Hunter made. He went all the way off at turn number 6 and drove it all the way. Instead of, it was in a very interesting move that I've seen a lot of drivers do in the past, rather than let it sit in the stand and try and get out there, he drove it all the way to the tire barrier where the patch of grass is, and then drove around the sand trap and then just kept it on the inside there, but obviously catching out John Kinder, who had to avoid him and completely misses the corner and had to dive it straight into the pits. He looks like he might not lose that position, but now as they come out of pit road, he's going to have a race on his hand. Now there's a three-way fight for the race lead, as now, how about this? Wyatt Brackett is now the race leader here. So like Joe said, the undercut performed by the number 33, it will pay off. He now takes over the race lead thanks to the mistake made by Kinder trying to avoid his father, David Brackett, as now they make the run up to the bus stop, as Brandon Robertson is now reeling in on the number 21 to possibly take over that second spot.
I think it's really awesome to see how quickly Kinder got that car back up to speed. Obviously, you come out of the pits, you've got cold tires, and your car might not be quite at optimal performing temperatures, but look at the speed John Kinder has right now, even on to Wyatt Brackett as they come out of the exit of the carousel. The 21 car has a ton of momentum down on the run to turn 6 here, and he's on the inside. In fact, I wonder if we're going to get this pass completed through this turn right here. Brackett dives it in pretty nice and gets the at least run off the corner in the lead, but Kinder's going to try to over-under into turn 7. Not going to work, but John Kinder is going absolutely on it right now, and that car is hooked up. He's still holding onto the back of Wyatt Brackett.
He is trying to get the pass done, but Wyatt Brackett is doing everything he can to park the bus to try and keep the 21 at bay. The 21 going to take the dive bomb into turn number 1, going to make the number 33 run wide on the exit, but Wyatt will remain in the lead as they're going to go side by side up the S's. That is not a move you want to make because it does not end well, and Kinder will now take it the long way and clear him for the race lead. Wyatt Brackett going to fall back to second. Brandon Robertson holds on to third as Bryce Hunter rebounds to fourth. Just look at this. This is a 5-way fight for the race lead right now, and you would not have expected this after how far away they were when they pitted, as now Brandon Robertson going to try and make a fight for the race lead.
Robertson back up into P2. John Kinder did make a pretty stellar pass right there. You're running out of the carousel right now, and I wonder if Brackett kind of used up his tires a little bit quicker than the rest of these guys, because it seems like they're at least engulfing him pretty solidly behind. Bryce Hunter is the next car in line to try to see if he can get around that 33 car, but Brandon Robertson took advantage of the situation, put his number 2 machine into second place on the racetrack. Will be the lead car of this group, who pitted a bit earlier to try to see if they can hold on to John Kinder or not. But that 21 car is hooked up right now. You can see on your screen the gap that he's already put in between himself and Robertson. Down into the first turn again, Casey Barlow is the car you're on board with. He's the car in 5th spot, riding as caboose in this train for the moment being, seeing about Bryce Hunter and what he can do to maybe get around that number 9 machine as they go back up the hill.
making their way back up to the S, is now catching up to number 13 of Brian Terry. He will now go another lap down, so make that 2 laps down for the number 13, as he is just minding his race, gathering the points that he can. Now make their way back down into the bus stop, slamming it down in the second gear through the corners. And this has been very impressive by Brandon Robertson. He has been the fastest driver I have seen all race long to make it through that bus stop. He is just sending it in the corner, making it stick, because every time I see it, he has such a large gap to whoever's in front of him, and he's just able to almost gather almost half a second on who's ever in front of him, and this time it is John Kinder. Now he's in a position to where he could possibly have a shot at the race lead if he could maintain that gap and be there again next time around.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be fast in the bus stop. That's a spot where guys who don't really get it quite right lose a lot of time, and obviously if you're getting it through there with a lot of speed, you get through the bus stop and get some momentum into the carousel. It definitely can carry you through that turn and then give you a little bit of momentum for a chance into turn number 6 too. So being able to run smooth and run fast in parts of the track where other people may struggle is definitely a exponentially helpful thing to have under your seat with you as you run these laps. And I think that could show as Brandon Robertson continues to trek on to try to get past John Kinder. You're looking at Justin Winters. He is running right with Matt Grenier. Those two with a small battle here for 8th spot on track, as Justin Winters has cleared the 15 pretty significantly coming out of the 90.
Yeah, we're not talked about that number 52 much, but he has been having a pretty solid night inside the top 10. Now looking back at Chris LeBourgeois, now behind him to Jack Bauer, currently running up in the 11th position as they exit their way onto the backstretch, as he's trying to catch to Chris LeBourgeois to take back a top 10 spot, with Ryan Kendall not too far behind them as they make their way into the bus stop as well. Ryan Kendall, who having started 16th, has gained up 4 spots to currently be within the 12th position. Now just sitting back and watching the fight as Jack Bauer tries to clear the number 83 machine of LeBourgeois and make the run up to turn number 6. And behind them is actually Ed Osborne, who at the start of the season did not have the results that he wanted. He has not been a driver who many would assume to be a strong top 10 contender, but ever since like around race 3 or 4, he has really picked up the pace and has become a driver who has been strongly contending for these top half field positions. So it's very, very impressive to see just how much of a turnaround season that number 42 has had this year. And same for drivers like Chris LeBourgeois and Jack Bauer, who are drivers who last season were just not really contenders to be running up and fighting for spots, and while now this year actually being drivers contending for top 10 and even top 5 positions in some races.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Noah. I was even going to bring up Jack Bauer as well in that scenario, because I think that's a really great way to describe what's gone down in the Bluegrass iRacing series for him throughout this one. I know that also, on top of just being able to slowly trek up and make better performances, be more consistent, and get better finishes, Ed Osborne's one of the guys in this field that a lot of people like and a lot of people have respect for. And I remember him getting a top 5 a while back. Last season was a pretty big deal for some of the guys, even up at the front of the field. I think I'm probably wrong about this, but I think Brandon Robertson either got 1st or 2nd in that race, and I remember talking to him after it, just saying how stoked they were about seeing that. And I think not even for the people watching the series and fans at home and us here in the booth, but the drivers themselves. Chris LeBourgeois trying to get a little slide job in there on the turn 6. Jack Bauer's going to get down the inside, and LeBourgeois is going to get out of his way. They're wiggly out of turn number 7 right there, so LeBourgeois fighting that car right now on screen. But I do think that even for the guys in the field, shakeups like that and having some of these guys come up to the front of the field that have struggled in the past is something they really want to see.
Absolutely, indeed. It's always great to see these new faces running up here in the top half of the field, rather than it being the same people week after week after week, as now Jack Bauer has cleared him for a top 10 spot to gain that final stage point, which in fact might be coming up here soon, as John Kinder now exiting off of turn number 7 is going to bring it down to what I believe will be the white flag, as he now completes lap number 20 onto 21. So this time by, we should be seeing the green and white checker when he comes back across the line, as he now catches up to Gary Jaworski, carrying the first driver out on points to make the playoffs. right now he finds himself running up and outside the top 15 in the 18th spot. And right now he's in a very good spot because even if he goes a lap down, he should be able to get the lucky dog and bring himself back around, which is not what a driver like CJ Mason wants, who's also trying to make it on points. So there's a lot riding on the line here, not only with the stage points, but for these drivers who are trying to make their way in on points positions, and going a lap down is not what you want to do on what would be the only caution. Looks like Gary is going to be the general driver and take the wide approach to let the leaders by. So he will now just take the lucky dog, as John Kinder is going to bring it down to turn 6 and 7 once again.
They come down the ways. Gary Jaworski, one of those guys who had a little bit of trouble at Road America earlier on this season. I think road courses maybe not his number one specialty, but certainly just trying to get through this race and get a couple points to try to forward his path into the playoff picture. And certainly we've got Darlington next week for him to try to come out with a head of momentum and put his car into the playoffs. John Kinder rolling through, passing the lap 22 mark, which means we've got ourselves a caution flag, and that is going to be the end of the first half of your event. Stage 1 winner is going to be the number 21, Rims 1, Ghostface Brewing Ford Mustang, John Kinder.
Second place is going to be the number 2 of Brandon Robertson. Wyatt Brackett will wind up third at number 33. Bryce Hunter in a very good points paying position right now in fourth. Casey Barlow going to bring it home fifth. Adam Lancaster is going to drive it up 6 spots from his starting position in 12th. He'll finish 6th in that stage. Nathan Maurer is going to finish 7th. Justin Winters will finish 8th. Matt Grenier will finish 9th. And then rounding out again the final stage point is going to be the number 48 of Jack Bauer, as this might be our only caution of the event, as the field now going to catch up to the Porsche safety car, depending on where it is on the racetrack, and might still be waiting for your leader. Right now it is actually, it's still sitting on pit road waiting for him. So we should be seeing pit stops taking place here possibly within the next few laps, depending on when these drivers opt to come in. But once we get done with that, we will try and bring in your stage winner, John Kinder, after an incredible dominating performance in stage 1.
Yeah, so like Noah said, we'll give them some time to just kind of bring it down a little bit, get ready, make some strategy calls with the teams and whatnot. And then obviously after the pit stop cycle out, we'll go ahead and try to get a word from the stage 1 winner. He's done it before this season, and he's very strong right now. I don't want to give him any commentators' curses, but the car looks really good right now, and if John can just keep trekking on and hitting his marks, I think that's a really great setup to be performing at the end of this race.
John Kinder now going to catch up to the safety car as now they make their way up through the S's. The field now going to single file the way out, and we should be seeing the pit stops this time by. While we do have a moment to wait for the field to get around, we do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors for tonight's event, starting off with some of the guys sponsoring the Bluegrass iRacing series, Milner Media Designs, Ghostface Brewing Company, 2 longtime partners of the Bluegrass iRacing series who have been staples within this series now, Rims 1 being a longtime partner here for the past 2 seasons. And I also want to give a shout out to our own here on the PitStop TV. First off, going to go shout out to Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, we will custom create a beautiful framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. Use promo code PitStopTV at checkout and receive 10% off your purchase. I also want to give a shout out to RacePace. Ever wish you could have a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you can. Thanks to RacePace, a driver development service instead of a shop, all in one. Work with Tyler, a real-world race engineer, to set up your game before your next race. Pick up pace with RacePace. Permanent Makeup in Carlisle, Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup in Carlisle, Maine, the owner, Ashley Bollier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup in Carlisle, Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call/text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup in Carlisle, Maine a call today to book a consultation. And lastly, Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's new parent organization. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its projects in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. As you see on your screen right now, as Pitts Road has opened, John Kinder opting to stay out. As the rest of the field comes in, Brandon Robertson will win the race off pit road. Looks like Wyatt Brackett is going to come out in second. How about Adam Lancaster going to jump up a few spots up into third? Casey Barlow will run out in fourth, so he will restart fifth. But a very, very bold call by number 28 as he jumps up quite a few spots up to around the third position. Will restart fourth as John Kinder interestingly staying out this time by. So a very interesting call being made here, but it will hopefully pay off as now the teammates of Kinder and Lancaster are now both solidly in the top 5.
Yeah, that was really surprising actually to see John Kinder stay out there. I think this obviously he ran a long time on that first set of tires, but he made it to that point and decided the best move for him was to stay out on the track for the time being. The field kind of split down who came in and got what services. I think Lancaster was able to take either less tires or no tires or some sort of strategy call to move him all the way up into P6 for the time being. So some strategy calls being made in this, what we could imagine as the only yellow flag of this race.
All right, and with that being said, we're going to try and get a quick word with our stage winner, Mr. John Kinder. John, you started on pole, and you have pretty much like you did at Loudon a week ago, have dominated this event in the early goings. How is the band trying to tackle this road course here tonight?
We're just turning laps right now. Looks like everybody's going to split this next section, so I'm on a little bit different strategy, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, you had a very, very good run, and then you had your pit stop, and then you came out right within the thick of the battle within the top 5. What was it like trying to get around the number 33 of Brackett while also trying to fend off Brandon Robertson?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be close because they undercut me by a couple of laps, but wanted to get back in the lead, set the pace. Brandon looks like he's got a lot of pace. We'll just have to see how it plays out here.
All right, and now with the last remaining half of this race getting ready to start, what is your game plan going to be to try and take it home and get your first win of the season?
Well, I came in with work the race backwards strategy. I'm sticking to it. It's either going to be good or it's going to be bad. We'll find out here in a few laps.
All right, before I let you go here to get ready for the second half of this race, who do you have to thank here for your stage win here tonight?
I'd like to thank Rims One for sponsoring the halfway leader and Ghostface Brewery, my teammates, Adam, Justin, Casey, and they always help me out quite a bit. And so we'll see if we can't finish this one off.
All right, well, congratulations there on a stage win, and hopefully you're able to keep it together. We can talk to you again here at the end of the race.
I appreciate it. I also got to thank Alex Huffman for the paint job. I keep forgetting to thank him, and he does an awesome job painting these cars.
All right, well, it does look great on the racetrack, and hopefully we get to see some more of it here tonight. Good luck there in stage 2.
All right, I appreciate you guys.
All right, that'll do it for our stage winner, Mr. John Kinder, as the lights are out on top of the safety car. As they make their way down into turn number 6 and 7, it'll be a redo of the initial start as John Kinder and Wyatt Brackett will lead to the green. And we had a little bit of development as it looks like Brandon Robertson might have sped on pit road because he had to fall all the way to the rear end of the field. So now that'll promote Adam Lancaster up to third. Casey Barlow will restart fourth, and Nathan Maurer will take on the 5th position as now the field making their way through turn number 7. The field going to be in the hands of John Kinder once again, now making their way down the long front straightaway as the eyes are going to be on Kinder see when he opts to go. The green flag is back in the air, and we are racing again in stage number 2.
On the charge, the throttle jockeys go into turn number 1 this time. John Kinder makes the inside line the advantage and pulls ahead of Wyatt Brackett out of the 90 this time. The rest of the field behind them looks fairly clean. They're still side by side a little bit further back in the field, but for the time being, no issues back there. Wyatt Brackett trying to hold on for the time being. Casey Barlow is getting all sorts of loose. Squiggly wiggly through the S's. He went, but he held onto that car. Oh, Lancaster put those two tires out in the grass, trying to see if he could hold some momentum on the 51 car. Didn't quite go his way. He retains the fourth running position. The leaders come out of the bus stop for this first time. Everybody's coming through pretty solid and clean this time. And John Kinder out of the carousel. Nice run there, but Wyatt Brackett's got a ton of momentum behind him as well. 33 going to try to put some pressure on.
Now making the run up to turn number 6 once again. Wyatt Brackett very closely in contention to possibly have a shot at the lead. What he doesn't want to do is have the exact same thing happen at the initial start, and that is let John Kinder get away. He needs to bring the fight to him, or else Kinder will open up that gap, and then it will be smooth sailing for Kinder to bring it home to a win. Obviously, the different varying strategy going to play huge dividends for that number 33, because now John Kinder, is on about 10 lap older tires than the rest of the field. Now looking back at the fight for the 9th position, or I believe the 8th position actually, as Ryan Kendall and Chris Bourgeois going to go side by side. Actually, Ryan Kendall will clear him. Now they're going to go side by side for the 9th position, as Ed Osborne going to try and get around at number 83 as they make their way up to the S's, and not too far behind them is number 2, Brandon Robertson, who's trying to rebound his way back up to the field after his fall to the rear as they make the run up to the bus stop once again.
Robertson's trying to put some pressure. He's going to get around Ronnie Shirk Jr. on the entrance to this bus stop, in behind the 14 of Tyler Reed, that all-black Ford Mustang, and Nick Mills there in front. Brendan Robertson probably strategically wanted to get some more service on the pit lane, and maybe there was a little bobble for the 2-car in the pits, but for the time being, he's trekking up through the field enough that I think it's safe to say he's still got time to make some moves and get back up at least into the top 5 before the end of this race.
He very much has the speed and the pace to make his way up to this field. He has a very long gaggle of cars at the fight. They're starting off with number 14 of Tyler Reed, but we've seen it time and time again. This man is able to battle through adversity and make his way back up to the field to fight for these positions. However, the fighting is still going up here for the race lead. Now looking back at Jack Bauer, currently running up there in the 5th spot. Like we talked about, he will start all the way in the back of the field, but give him time. He makes his way and is able to run up here with the leaders. Jack Bauer having a very strong performance. However, making the run down into the bus stop, Wyatt Brackett is as close as he has ever been to get the pass on the number 21. Now making their way through the bus stop into the carousel, as he is really starting to close in that gap. We could possibly see a fight for the race lead here with the next few laps, as Casey Barlow as well starting to reel in the number 33 and make it a 3-car fight for the race lead possibly.
You got to think Wyatt Brackett came into the pits and got that car refreshed, and it did not happen the same way for John Kinder under that caution. So props to John for holding on to these guys right now. They obviously have a little bit fresher cars underneath them in 2nd and 3rd right now as you're on board with Casey Barlow into the final turn. John Kinder's still holding on out front. As I say it, he proves me wrong. He goes down pit lane. So that leading car that we just saw, John Kinder's going to be bringing it in for some service.
And that could be a very, very interesting move of the race. I thought he might try and double stint these tires, and he just about did, arguably. He made it around about 10 or so laps, which is what we expect, while the rest of the field still has about 1 or 2 more pit stops. I think 1 is the safe bet to get them to the end, so it'll be interesting to see if John Kinder can rebound and take the race lead. However, up at the front of the field, it is Wyatt Brackett, still your race leader, as he makes his way down into the bus stop, now leading his first laps of the night since the first round of pit stops. So now Wyatt Brackett is in the best position to possibly get his first win of his Bluegrass iRacing career, but a hard-charging Casey Barlow right behind him says otherwise, as he's going to try and make some magic happen to get around to number 33, but he has quite a bit of a gap to try and catch up if he wants to do so.
Yeah, for the time being, that gap is pretty significant there. I don't think Casey Barlow is going to be able to make a pass immediately within the next few turns unless something happens to that 33 car, but definitely within stalking distance, and I think it's fair to not count Casey Barlow out quite yet. If you look back into 3rd place, Adam Lancaster has broken into the podium for the first time in this event as a result of John Kinder coming pit lane. Jack Bauer moved himself into P4 with that spot as well, and Nathan Maurer has gotten his 97 Simbox Chevrolet into top 5 here too. Some guys cycling through this field. Mac Grenier is in 6th place, putting pressure on that Simbox 97 for the time being. That could be a nice battle for 5th spot, as these guys are just trying to charge back up to the front of the field. And I think what we said about Jack Bauer starting more towards the tail and working his way up, I think that's holding very true for the rest of these guys as well, but maybe not quite as much so, as he started in 21st spot and he's all the way up to P4, and he goes off the track. As I say it, off into the gravel goes the 48 machine. He's going to lose a handful of spots right there. Got to be careful on re-entering the track that you don't get into contact. That's a tough spot to rejoin, and unfortunately Jack Bauer is going to lose a couple spots at that one.
Indeed he will. He's going to fall back quite a bit as he just overcooked it and burnt his tires going into the bus stop trying to gain ground on the number 28. You're going to look at the onboard. He's going to come right in there and he also just goes a little bit wide, and he's off into where the marbles would be, and he just loses it completely. Obviously, not really too much of a bad incident as he keeps it off the wall, but still, that is a very, very bad break for number 48. As you just see there, he's trying to gather back up but is unable to do so, and out into the sand he goes, and he loses 2 spots in that incident. Actually ends up losing 4 because of Ryan Kendall and Bryce Hunter, who are now going to go side by side ahead of them in the fight for 7th, as Hunter will clear Kendall going up to the S's.
So Bryce Hunter has made that pass. Jack Bauer's going to try to see if he can get around the 68 car as well and retain at least one of the spots that he lost with that little incident on his own going wide in the bus stop. You're on board with the 48 as we come into the braking zone again with this in and out section of the course. Kendall gets through there pretty good. Bauer is pretty aggressive on those rumble strips too, so that might be something to watch, that he doesn't use up those tires too quickly. Not only from maybe the extra pressure he's putting on himself to get back up there with that little incident, but even running aggressively on those rumble strips will wear the car down a little bit. Brian Kendall has a nice little gap to him for the time being in P7, but Bryce Hunter made that pass and has absolutely escaped the front end of the 68 car.
He is holding on strongly to a top 10 running spot at the moment, as now you're looking out the rear of the number 68, who we've been waiting to see. He had a very, very strong run in the first few races of the season, but has really kind of dwindled off and been running in the mid-pack. But now, as of late, he has really started to put it into another gear as we approach the cutoff race for the regular season, and now he finds himself running back strongly up into the top 10, now looking ahead at Bryce Hunter, now back at the number 68 of Ryan Kendall as they make the exit onto the back straightaway, as he has a hard, fast running Jack Bauer trying to reclose that gap and take back the 7th place position that he once held on to, now making his way left into the right, left, and left, right as he gets set into the carousel once more, as now he's going to have a mirror full of the number 48 on behind him.
Riding with Ryan Kendall right now, and you did mention the beginning of his season, and I had thought at the beginning when we had that race at Daytona, which was full of cars, there was a large field of drivers in that race, but Ryan Kendall didn't exactly stand out in that race when he came through as one of the rookies in that event. Over the course of the season, he stayed patient with the series and with himself and put some good performances together. I thought Ryan Kendall is probably one of the most improved drivers, at least one of the most improved rookies, as he lets Jack Bauer through on the inside. I wonder if Jack Bauer made that pass on his own, but Ryan Kendall comes down the pit lane, so that 68 car is going to get some service. But yeah, over the course of this season, I would definitely say one of the most improved rookies in the field, if not one of the best improved drivers. Ryan Kendall's been doing a pretty good job with that. You look back onto the race leader, we haven't checked in a while on Wyatt Brackett. He's got a pretty nice gap in between himself and Casey Barlow as he runs down the backstretch. There's your race info on the screen. As you can see, one caution. That was for our stage break. 3 lead changes throughout the course of this one, basically between Wyatt Brackett and John Kinder there, and Wyatt Brackett is the one retaining the race lead for the time being. We look for John Kinder in the running order. He's obviously off strategy from the rest of these guys, but he's all the way down in P15, as that is Chris LeBourgeois. He got it all wrong, and there's a ton of damage on the front end of this 83 car.
We now have our first driver to have stuffed it into the tire barriers, as now he gets it back rolling, but now as a modified, losing the bumper and the hood. We saw he was just kind of running his race. He was being very, very patient, and then while having a fight there with Brandon Robertson, just overcooks it and loses it. You're going to see here on the replay, making the run down the back straightaway, approaching the bus stop, and I believe he might just be making the same mistake that Jack Bauer did. No, actually, he's going to hit the apex, but I believe the back end of the car just got loose, and he just hit a hard amount of contact into those tire barriers, and that is going to destroy the front of the number 83 Chevrolet Camaro, as now he's going to try and limit back to the pits and get some repairs done to try and finish this race.
That looked like that turn-in might have been a little bit too sharp for Chris LaRousseau. And I really liked what you said when you said he brought back out a modified. That was a pretty cool little thing. Modifieds are a pretty interesting setup cars, and obviously Chris LaRousseau did not want to modify the appearance of that machine with that incident, but unfortunate stuff for that 83 car. He was running pretty consistently throughout it. These guys you see on your screen, Adam Lancaster and Nathan Maurer, are two guys who came down the pit lane very recently. They just came out on their own in the 28 and 97. They come down the back straightaway again, running around the outside of that lap car, Gary Jaworski.
And right now, Adam Lancaster does look to be the highest of the current pitters to have made their way down pit road. He currently has started 12th. He's now back neutral within the 12th spot, now having to try and go around the number 30 of David Brackett. So it'll be interesting to see where he slots into when the round of pit stops. And now looking ahead at John Kinder, currently running in the 10th spot. It's going to be a very big question of where would he come out with the pit strategy he's going to make, is now he's going to try and double stint those tires to the end from where he pitted, as we are now at the 11 to go mark. So when Ryan Brackett hits the line, we'll be at 10 laps. As now you look at a lot of the rest of the leaders making their final pit stops of the night. Jack Bauer off and away to bring it down. You're looking at Ronnie Shirk Jr. behind him, bringing it in. Bryce Hunter as well, going to exit the pits. As now you're looking at the leader, Wyatt Brackett. And we're going to have to see when he makes his final pit stop. And then the question will be, where will Casey Barlow and Matt Grenier, and then Brandon Robertson, who with all the pit stops has rebounded his way up into the 4th position. So again, there's going to be a lot of questions when these guys opt to make their final pit stops of the night. And it looks like Wyatt Brackett is going to stay out another lap and lead it to 10 to go.
Wyatt Brackett still holding on to the race lead. Casey Barlow in 2nd place for the time being. Matt Grenier has adopted 3rd place after Adam Lancaster came down the pit lane. That's a pretty interesting move by Adam Lancaster. It's been about 10 laps. Has been a fairly standard, I think, is safe to say, pit window and run for a set of tires in between coming down the pit lane. To top off, you're riding with Brandon Robertson. He is one of the takers this time by. That 2-car has been as high as 2nd place in this event. Kind of fallen back a little bit. He's obviously been running pretty well, staying inside the top 10 throughout it, but obviously not running at the front end of the field and winning this race like he had maybe wanted to coming into it. But I think, he's in the run for the playoffs. He's already won his races this season, so a win would give him more playoff points, but if you have an off week, it's not that big of a deal at this point.
Now making the way back down into the run up to turns 6 and 7 once again. You're looking at the number 51 of Casey Barlow, who in the last few laps has actually been closing down the lead to number 33. So it looks like those tires are starting to fall off over the cliff, as now here he comes. Wyatt Brackett now going to bring it down pit road for his final pit stop of the race. He's going to bring it in with 9 laps this time by. So now the big question is the number 21 of John Kinder, currently running 6. He is now approaching up the run into turn number 6 and 7 as well. So it looks like he might be able to make the pass. So we were wondering, how would this all affect John Kinder with how he stayed out under caution? And now it looks like he might be able to take back the race lead with how he's running. But it's going to be the bigger question of how these older tires are going to face up with the newer tires on a longer green flag run, and just how much of a lead is Kinder going to be able to have to put some insurance as he now safely gets around the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett, who is still yet to go away. So there's going to be a very, very large gap to the number 21 of John Kinder, who is now setting his sights to take back the race lead. And now we wait on Matt Grenier and Casey Barlow to see when they opt to pit.
I do think it's going to be interesting to watch Adam Lancaster as well, because Adam came in a little while back, and obviously he didn't get out in front of Wyatt Brackett. So you see, there's the 33 car, and the car behind him is Adam Lancaster, who I don't think is going to be able to pull enough momentum and time on Wyatt Brackett to make this pass, although he could prove me wrong, but it'll be interesting to see where those two roll out. I do think it's worth mentioning that when John Kinder came out of the pits and on his own way back when he was a little bit further back in the field than the rest of these guys, but say Adam Lancaster, when Lancaster came back out of the pits, as you've got Casey Barlow committing to a pit stop right now, Lancaster was right within the sights of John Kinder. So I think if Adam Lancaster's good to go to the finish and John Kinder maybe has to come in again, or even if John just has to be patient and easy going on his car, Lancaster definitely could be strong enough to make that pass back, as well as Wyatt Brackett now that he's in the middle of those two.
You're now looking on your screen now. You can, I believe, see the number. Yep, you can now see the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett. We thought that gap was going to be a lot bigger, but those fresher tires are really going to start to eat in there on the number 21. So it looks like that insurance that he might have had for the race lead might just be going away before he has a chance to even take the race lead, because Matt Grenier has still yet to come down pit road. He is now making his way through the carousel as he awaits to make his last pit stop of the race. But right now, John Kinder looks to be retaking the lead yet again at the end of this pit cycle, but he's going to be in a very vulnerable spot for Wyatt Brackett to capitalize. So right now, it's just going to be all up to John Kinder to see if he can actually make it to the end, like he pointed out, because he pitted a while ago, and we haven't really seen how far you can really take it. Everyone's just been kind of doing these 10-lap stints and bringing it on in. So it'll be very, very interesting to see if he's able to pull out these 20-lap stints here by the time this is over. Now coming down to around 7 laps to go. Matt Grenier still opting to stay out, as again, you look on the onboard of Wyatt Brackett, he has very, very much closed down that gap, and now he is breathing down the neck of that number 21.
Wyatt Brackett definitely closing the gap. You can see it on your screen. He goes purple that time through. CJ Mason pulls out of the way. David Brackett coming out of the pits, also going to let those two through on their own. Brendan Robertson actually takes the fastest lap of the race as he comes through on his own. So he's definitely on the charge to get that two-car up as far as he can. We're riding with Wyatt Brackett right now, watching off the nose of this machine. You can see John Kinder has pretty much the same straight line speed as Brackett, but when we get into the braking zones and the corners, look at how much more speed Wyatt Brackett can carry through these turns. Trying to see if he can figure out a way to get around Kinder. The carousel is a really tough spot to try to make a pass. You kind of have to just commit to running through here single file and then hopefully get a good run off of the corner. But Brackett got a little aggressive in the middle. I think that's going to bite him down this little straightaway here. Not going to be able to get momentum on Kinder. Maybe a dive for the 33 car. Not quite there. Wasn't quite close enough to make a dive bomb into turn number 6. So for the moment, he's just going to have to retain position behind John Kinder. Wait for Matt Grenier to make that pit stop, if he even does, which he actually does right now. So that 15 car relinquishes the race lead this time. And as I say it, Wyatt Brackett goes side by side for the race lead down the front straightaway.
Wyatt Brackett now going to go door to door with the number 21 as they enter into turn number 1, as Kinder going to go way wide. That will allow the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett to get the pass done. So that is the pass for the race lead. And now with 6 laps to go, Wyatt Brackett finds himself back out in front as he is trying to wheel that thing. You see him there struggling to get it back down onto the apex of the corners. He had to take a long way around to get around Kinder and the second part of the S's, and now he is just trying to hold on to that thing as he makes his way to the bus stop. And now as he has the thing gathered back up, he should be able to just go ahead and outrun it to the end here, and if he can hold it together, he will have a race win on his hand, as John Kinder trying to do whatever he can to gather momentum back to take back the race lead, but it's just not going to happen from the looks of it. Now he has to try and fend off Casey Barlow there for the second spot.
Yeah, I think Kinder's in a tough spot right here. He just didn't get the strategy quite right for this race, and he got a little loose going into the turn. He keeps that car under control and doesn't go off into the grass, but turn 6 might have been a bit of a struggle for John Kinder right there. Just not the right strategy move, I guess, at the end of the day, and it's a tough break because John's coming out every week trying to win races, desperately wants to get that first win of the season. He's shown the speed and that he can win this season. He goes way wide. I think he might have been anticipating Gary Jaworski a little more than he probably should have right there. Casey Barlow's going to get that position as we just surpassed 5 laps left in this race. John Kinder definitely wouldn't be able to afford going as far back into the field by taking a pit stop right now. I think it's just damage control for Kinder and try to get that car to the finish as quickly as possible and hold as many of these spots as he can.
So another heartbreaking win taken away from the number 21. As you look further back to the field, a battle for 6 brewing up at the moment, as here comes the dive bomb from the number 2 of Brandon Robertson, who sends it in deep and gets the pass done for P6 on the board, as now he sets his sight on Adam Lancaster for the top 5. So he is still charging his way through the field after having to take an EOL from the first caution back at the stage break. So now he is within position to go out and get a top 5 back. And what we're talking about just battling back from adversity is what the number 2 has been able to do so well, race after race after race. And along with the race wins that he has to already have locked himself into the playoffs, he is just within a very, very strong contention to win the championship. So it'll be very much up to how he can keep this going out throughout the rest of the season, because right now he is probably the favorite to win this championship.
Definitely one of those names that we're going to be talking about, and I think it's pretty easy to see it happening that he could get that car to Phoenix with a chance at winning it. Adam Lancaster, the car in front of him, he was going to have a little bit more of a struggle to get up to that 28 car on this run, but Adam Lancaster got the 90 all sorts of wrong and lost it off the top end, went off into the runoff. And obviously you can see how much time Brandon Robertson made up there. Tough break for Adam Lancaster. That's not something he needed to do or wanted to do in the closing stages of this race, to keep Brandon Robertson behind him, because Brandon's really going strong right now. There's a lot of momentum, and he's got his rhythm down pat for the moment. So obviously one of those guys who's pretty aggressive and intimidating to see in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, the number 2 is not somebody you want to see in your mirror, because he is just so quick and so aggressive to try and get around here, and he is so very much able to make it stay, because he will make the pass into turn number 6, so he will clear it, and that will move him up into the 5th position, as looks like Lancaster might try and make the move happen to take it back, but he just does not have the corner exit that he needs. So now he will hold on to the 6th spot, as we are now at 3 laps to go, as they make their way down into turn number 1. And Nathan Maurer is going to try and close it in and take away the 6th spot from Adam Lancaster as they make their way up to the S's. Looks like Lancaster got a little bit loose after biting the rumble strips on the exit turn number 1.
Lancaster's been having problems in that turn the last 2 times through. I'm wondering if something's going array with that car. Maybe he's just worn the tires out more than he wants to, and getting through that corner has become difficult for him. The 90 is a tough corner to make. You have to get your car slowed down enough, and you do have some banking in that turn that helps you roll it into the corner, and then when you come off, you've got space on your left side in case you need to run off a little bit. But definitely not going the way Adam Lancaster wanted in that corner or in the carousel. Look at how high up off the groove that 28 car was. A little bit of wiggle as he brought it back down, but Nathan Maurer made up a ton of time right there. I think Adam Lancaster must have driven the tires off this one. He's really hoping to get that checkered flag suit. That car does not handle well at all right now.
A lot of struggles being taking place inside the number 28 Ghostface Brewing Company Ford Mustang. Luckily, he does have that win from New Hampshire, so regardless of where he finishes, he will not have to worry about making it on points, as now he brings it within 2 laps. So still trying to fend off Nathan Maurer there for the 6th position, as Brandon Robertson is just sailing away there with the 5th spot, as now all eyes are really going to be on John Kinder and Bryce Hunter, as Bryce Hunter has been able to close down that gap a little bit. The gap is now sitting a little bit over a second at the moment, but still Bryce Hunter can easily sneak his way onto the podium if he keeps the pace that he has going, because he is very fastly catching up to the number 20.
Yeah, Bryce did have a really good performance at Road America when we went all that time back, and obviously here at Watkins Glen, another road course, he definitely put in the time to prepare that car to be in a position to fight like he is right now. John Kinder right in front of him, he can see him. You know, that's going to give him some motivation for the time being. But one guy who's pretty motivated right now, we'll jump right up to him, is Wyatt Brackett, your race leader, because he's coming out of turn number 7 this time to get the white flag and start his last lap. This is 1 to go, and this is going to be his attempt to finally break through and get a race win. Casey Barlow stalking in the distance right now. Got to watch that 51 car to see if there's maybe a mistake up front, or maybe you can just get that car up to where Wyatt Brackett is right now. But Wyatt has been a staple in this series. He's gotten himself up to the top end of the charts as of late. He's had some really awesome performances, but this is going to possibly be the breakthrough he needed. He's got Barlow still charging down the back straightaway into the bus stop for the final time. Noah, this could be an exciting race to the finish.
Absolutely, it can be. Casey Barlow hard on the gas through the bus stop, trying to catch up as much as he can. Now coming down to the carousel for the final time. It looks like he might have the corner exit speed if he can get it. Now making the run down to turns 6 and 7. The gap is now less than half a second. He has now gained 5/10 compared to where he was at the start of the lap. Now making their way through the final 2 turns of the course as Wyatt Brackett has a little bit of a slip-up that's going to allow Casey Barlow to be there, but I don't think it'll be enough as they make their way off of the final corner. Wyatt Brackett, who has been a long-time starter here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series, will have it finally pay off. Wyatt Brackett's to punch his ticket into the playoffs and win it at Watkins Glen International as Casey Barlow gets a hard-fought, strong second. John Kinder looks like he will be able to hold on and bring it home in third. Bryce Hunter is going to bring it home fourth, and Brandon Robertson will rebound it there in fifth as a little bit of contact between Adam Lancaster and Nathan Maurer as Adam Lancaster will bring it home in seventh.
Well, Noah, when you were calling it out of turn number 7 there, I was getting kind of nervous because there's been that thing in the past where somebody calls a race winner before they get to the line, and I was getting scared of Casey Barlow's run that he was going to possibly be able to get out of turn number 7, but a little bit of tire spin on the exit of that turn pretty much put the nail in the coffin for him there, and just let Wyatt Brackett roll it down the front stretch to take that victory back. Absolutely stellar race to the finish, though, with those two bringing home a really tight battle between first and second at the line. Wyatt Brackett well-deserved to get this race victory here at Watkins Glen. Love this track. Races here are always exciting and interesting. Strategy played a big role in the event, and just being patient got Wyatt Brackett home in first place. Congratulations to him, that number 33 team, for finally breaking through. As the rest of the field comes through, gets their final lap of the event completed, all of the official timing and scoring checked off, and Wyatt Brackett gets to bring it to the start-finish line again and burn it down for the first time in the Bluegrass iRacing.
And now Wyatt Brackett is going to be able to do something he hasn't done in the 2 seasons that he has competed here, and that is do a burnout along the front stretch here as he's trying to get the tires spinning there. Had a little bit of a burnout going there, and there's a little bit more tire smoke, and he's going to do some donuts on the front straightaway, and he's going to enjoy this. This should be a very long burnout. This has been a long time coming for that number 33 Black Car Mafia Chevrolet Camaro, who has had 2 incredible back-to-back races, and now he finds himself locked into the playoffs with 1 race to go in the regular season.
I want to speak on behalf of how awesome it is that we've only had a handful of 2-time winners this season. We've had a lot of 1-time winners. We've had a couple first-time winners, and the racing in the Bluegrass iRacing Series right now has been really great to see these different people coming out and shining at these different courses over the over the regular season part of this series, and I think it really speaks on behalf of how good these guys are on track, how much respect there is between them, and how close the racing really is.
And as now Wyatt Brackett is going to take the drive down to victory lane, we're going to use this opportunity to take a quick break here as we set it up here for our post-race show to wrap up here at Watkins Glen. Don't go anywhere. You're watching PitStop TV's live post-race coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Stay tuned. We will have a word with our race winner after this break.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine you're wedding picture, upload it onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back, race fans, to PitStop TV's live post-race coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series, live here from Watkins Glen International. After an incredible, hard-fought finish, we have some very happy drivers to talk to, and with that, we're going to bring in a new race winner to the Bluegrass iRacing Series, that being the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett, as we await to bring him in. Well, Wyatt, you had a very incredible run. You've waited quite a bit to get your first win of the season. How does it feel finally getting it done here at Watkins Glen?
Man, it feels amazing to finally get one. I've been working, always been there at the end in many races, but this one I was finally there and held on to it.
And held on to it, you did. You started second and you ran up in the top 5 the entire duration of the race. How was it on the first half of the race, having to watch John Kinder run away and then being able to pass him at the start of the second half?
It was, I knew in the first half of the race that he was going to run away from all of us, so I just told myself to keep it on the track and just stay in the top 5 for that restart for the stage, and it paid off.
And now with your first one of the season, now going into Darlington, not having to worry about making it in on points, even though you're pretty much safely in regardless. How does it feel now going into Darlington, not having to worry about whether or not you need the points to make it in or not?
It's a great feeling knowing I'm clinching the playoff regardless of points. I mean, I was up there in the points, but now this really clinches it, and I know that regardless of what happens at Darlington, being a tough track it is, I will be in the playoffs this season.
And now as we get set for the rest of the season, quickly, who do you have to thank for how your race has gone here tonight to be able to bring you home this first win of the season?
Well, first off, I got to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast all the time. The Bluegrass guys, everybody that shows up week after week to put on these great races. Always got to thank my old man for everything he's done for me to help me get here and whatnot. And then, as weird as this may sound, I got to give a big shout out to John Kinder, because I race in a truck league on Tuesday nights, and he's put a lot of work with me, and I just came runner-up in the championship and playoffs and that. So I've taken a lot of that knowledge from that league and brought it to this one, and he's making a weapon out of me.
All right. Well, congratulations on your first win of the season. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you next week at Darlington to wrap up the regular season.
Hey, I just got one more thing real quick, if you got a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Go right on ahead.
You guys had interviewed me, I think it was 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I was asked what were my 2 tracks that I was going to predict I would get a win at, and I said Atlanta or Watkins Glen, and I just want to tell you guys I came through for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Congratulations on that first win. Hopefully you can ride this wave of momentum going into the playoffs.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
All right, let's going to wrap it up with our race winner, Mr. John Kinder. And now we will bring in our second place finisher, Mr. Casey Barlow. And for that, I will hand it over to Joe Donahue.
Yes, and I've got Casey Barlow here in the booth with me. Casey, this is Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. Do you got a copy?
I got you.
All right, Casey. Well, your race tonight was pretty, I would say, consistent. You were up front the majority of the time. You started in the top 5, ran up there all race, but just coming home in second place tonight.
Yeah, it was a good run for us this week. These last 3 or 4 weeks here, I feel like we've had really good runs. Just have had some bad luck towards the end of races, and have compromised some good finishing positions. So it's great to have things work out and end up in here in the booth with you guys.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to have you up here, Casey. And throughout the course of this race, I think strategy was a pretty big factor in the event. We had seen John Kinder make some moves with going off strategy and whatnot, but your pit stop strategy seemed fairly normal with the rest of the guys, especially those around you, and at the end it kept you up front right there. Was the strategy call sort of something you came in knowing you were going to do, or did you kind of play with what everybody else was doing out on track?
To be honest with you, it really was the plan coming in. The guy that designed my car, Jose, I was running my strategy by him earlier in the day and then running it by the teammates here before the race started. I felt like the first pit, I was going to want to pit around lap 12, break that first stretch up before the halfway point, and then get tires again at the halfway point. Most everybody grabbed tires there at the halfway point, so I felt like we were, right on the right strategy. I just kept trying to hang in there, run my consistent laps, hit all my marks, and felt like I'd have a chance to be there at the end.
Well, I would say you definitely did have a chance to be there at the end. I don't know where those last 2 laps came from, but you absolutely caught up to Wyatt Brackett there at the end of the race. Obviously, you were thinking, how am I going to get around him to win this event? You almost did out of that final corner, but just not quite enough there. But talk us through that last lap. It looked like it must have been quite a fun ride in the driver's seat.
Absolutely, guys. Those last couple laps there were a blast. I was really able to close the gap to Wyatt on the last 2 laps. Especially that last lap. Once I got to him, I wanted that second to last corner, I tried to show inside. Even though I wasn't there, I tried to show inside, see if I could get him to run a little bit deep. He got that back end a little bit sideways going into that corner, so it gave me a chance to kind of get beside him. But then rather than getting beside him and outside on the last corner, I wanted to cross him over, but I just overbroke into the corner, and then on the exit just got onto the throttle too hard and slipped the rear end some. So
well, you still had a really solid run, and it was very impressive to see you catch all the way back up to him. You've already won a race this season, so you're good for the playoffs, but you got one more chance to get another W before the playoffs themselves start and get a couple extra playoff points. What is your outlook, and what are you thinking is going to be your run at Darlington?
Darlington's going to be a tricky track. That wall jump out and get you at any point in time, so it's going to take a lot of work between now and next week to get the feel right for the track. That's definitely what I'm going to do, especially for the last race of the regular season. I'll have a special paint job next week for the throwback there, and we'll see what we can get and try and get everything we can.
Absolutely, we'll be looking for it, and we'll be excited to see your throwback next week. Before we let you go to celebrate your second place finish this evening, I'll give you center stage and let you thank or say whatever you want here on the broadcast. Anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, just a big thank you to my team there. Angry Asian Motorsports, love running with those guys. I've got tons of help from them. Want to thank my sponsors, Tony's Pizza, Okami Brand, and Barlow Industries. And then always a big shout out to my family and the Bluegrass iRacing series and PitStop TV.
All right, Casey. Well, hey, thank you very much for coming on. Congratulations on your second place finish, and we might be talking to you again here in 1 week's time at Darlington.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
There you have your second place finisher for the evening. The number 51 drove a great race. Casey Barlow comes home just behind Wyatt Brackett in that 33. We'll give it back to Noah as he's going to pull in your third place finisher for this race. And this will be a fairly interesting interview here. We'll be interested to see what John Kinder has to say.
Well, John, we talked to you at the end of stage number 1, and you were a little bit caught off with the fact that you were the only one who stayed out there, and you were able to rebound yourself to bring it home and have a shot at the win there in the end. What was it like trying to rally it back to bring home a third place finisher tonight?
Yeah, I thought when I pitted there, I'd be able to get some clean laps, be able to put some fast laps down, and unfortunately, every lap I caught a car or two. And so the strategy didn't work out. Thought I'd be able to stretch the lead out a little bit, or stretch the distance out a little bit. But I only came out with a 4-second lead. Didn't have enough tire to hold them off, so just wrong strategy.
And now as you head into Darlington, you don't really have to worry about missing the playoffs because of how far up in the points you are. But what is your game plan going to be for the week to try and maybe get a win here before the regular season ends to close it out on a high note?
Yeah, I've been racing, keeping the 2-car in sight for the regular season championship. Pays a lot of points. So trying to keep him in sight each race. And so gain a little bit there. Should be somewhere around 16 up on him or something like that. So Darlington, I can kind of go for it, which I really like that track. So we'll see what we got.
And with now Darlington coming up being a throwback race, do you have any throwbacks in mind that you want to take place as you get ready for next week?
I haven't put too much thought into it. I might come out with one. I'm not sure yet.
All right. Well, hopefully we get to see some fun out of there. Regardless, you have a really great paint scheme to run anyways. And before we let you go here to celebrate your 3rd place finish, again, who do you have to thank for how your race went here tonight to bring it home P3?
Of course, Rims 1 and Ghostface Brewery, Alex Huffman and Huffman Designs, my teammates Ronnie Shirt, Adam Lancaster, Casey Barlow, and Justin Winters, and Ed Osborne. Those guys, Ed's really good on these road courses, so we always get some tips from him. So without those guys, I wouldn't be as fast as I am, so I really appreciate them.
All right, well, congratulations on a 3rd place finish, and hopefully we see you finally get that win there next week at Darlington to close out the regular season.
I guess I don't care if I win one as long as it's the Phoenix, right? That's the only one I got to win.
All that matters is getting the one that gets you the championship.
That's right. All right, boys.
All right, well, that'll wrap it up for our 3rd place finisher and our interviews for tonight's race as well. Joe, we were able to be witness to an incredible clean 45 laps of racing around Watkins Glen. Do you have any closing thoughts to how to end this night?
Well, I think you summed it up pretty good right there, Noah. We had a lot of really great racing on track. It was very clean. Obviously no yellows other than that stage break, and brought home some really exciting racing in between as well. I love Watkins Glen. I love this track so much in the real world. I cannot wait to get back there with my dad and go see some sort of action on course. Enjoy the scenery and the sights and sounds and smells of the facility. But in the meantime, the Bluegrass iRacing Series used it to the fullest it could tonight. I think this race has been showing some really great stuff for everybody here on the broadcast, and I've enjoyed thoroughly the time we spent here. And I'm looking forward to Darlington too. I'm looking forward to those throwbacks.
Absolutely going to be a lot of fun next week to see the throwback paint schemes that we can see every week or every year that come around Darlington. Is always a lot of fun. And lastly, we do want to give a quick shout out again to our sponsors for tonight. Sponsoring the Bluegrass iRacing Series, Rims 1 Wheels, Tires, Accessories, a longtime partner for the Bluegrass iRacing Series, as well as Milner Media and Designs, another longtime partner from this season. And then also want to give a shout out to our sponsors over here on the PitStop TV side of things. Starting it off with Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. You provide the image you want. We will custom create a beautiful framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. Use promo code PitStop TV at checkout and receive 10% off your purchase. Race Pace. Ever wish you could have a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you can. Thanks to Race Pace, a driver development service and setup shop all in one. Work with Tyler, a real-world race engineer, to set up your game before your next race. Pick up pace with Race Pace. Permanent Makeup in Crown Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup in Crown Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup in Crown Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup in Crown Maine a call today to book a consultation. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's new parent organization. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media for more information. And with that, that'll wrap it up for us here in the booth at Watkins Glen International for the Bluegrass iRacing Series, and now conclude our coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We at PitStop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to tune in back on Friday for the LTAC Cup Series as they go. Oh, and before we go, I don't know how this is going to be. It's been a long night. Give a quick run down the finishing results. Obviously, your winner from tonight's event is going to be number 33 of Wyatt Brackett. Finishing in second is going to be number 51 of Casey Barlow. Finishing third will be number 21 of John Kender. Fourth will be the number 9 of Bryce Hunter. Finishing fifth, and the number 2 will be Brandon Robertson. Sixth is going to be number 97, Nathan Maurer. Eighth is going to be number 20 of Adam Lancaster. Seventh is going to be number 20 of Adam Lancaster. Eighth is going to be number 15 of Matt Grenier. Ninth is going to be number 40 of Jack Bauer. And 10th is going to be number 14 of Tyler Reed.
You throw back to 11th place there. You've got the number 42 of Ed Osborne with a pretty solid result at the end of this one. Nick Noggle brings home the 08 car in 12th spot. Ronnie Shirk Jr. rounded it out in 13th tonight, and Justin Winters in 14th spot in that 52 car. Chris LeBourgeois going to finish in 15th position, and Nick Mills will be the last car in the lead lap at the end of this one in 16th spot. You've got Gary Jaworski in 17th, 1 lap down, and David Brackett in 18th, 2 laps down. Also 2 laps down in 19th spot is Michael Brisson. CJ Mason, driving the number 55 machine, brings it home in 20th spot. You bring it back to 21st position is going to be Brian Terry, 3 laps down, and rounding out your field tonight, 10 laps behind, is going to be the 68 of Ryan Kendall.
All right, and with that, that'll wrap it up for our post-race show here of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to tune back in on Friday for the LTAC Cup Series as they make their return to the Milwaukee Mile, and then on Saturday for the North Classic from Daytona. Be sure to tune in again on Monday for the doubleheader of the BRP iRacing Series and the Pacific Challenge GT3 Series. Be sure to bring it back Tuesday as Operation E Motorsports visits Circuit Gilles Villeneuve up in Montreal, and then finally next Wednesday for the Bluegrass iRacing Series from Darlington. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube by just simply searching PitStop TV1. For all of PitStop TV, Joe Donahue with me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth behind the scene, Corey Rexford on social media. I'm Noah Carmichael. Thank you, and we will see you next time.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.